She's an engineer, she's a scientist, she's an author, she's a speaker. This young generation of STEM people are making me proud every time I connect with someone. This is Miss Tiffani Teachey. She is a she's a senior mechanical engineer. So, Tiffani, will you please introduce yourself to our guest?
Hey, good evening. Thank you so much for having me. And I'm just looking forward to the discussion and promoting STEM and everything.
Well, promoting STEM is something that we both do because a lot of our young men and women don't know what is really out there in store for them. A lot of them they have that tunnel vision of STEM is being an engineer or a scientist or somebody in computer science. There are so many things out there that are available to them. But before we get started, would you tell my guest about yourself, as much as you wanted to let them know?
Okay. I originally from Winston-Salem, North Carolina. I'm from North Carolina, and my undergrad I gotten from University of North Carolina in Charlotte, mechanical engineering, my bachelor's, and then my master's went on straight on and got my master's in engineering management. Initially, I thought I might be a lawyer, but engineering is what was passionate with the problem-solving part of it. So that's what I went into as far as studies. I've been about 15 years in the industry and have been able to just grow and push engineering and STEM itself with the kids. So I'm passionate about giving back to the youth and just encouraging them to that they can be it as well. So that's just a little bit of background on me, and for the most part. And then also I'm an author of What Can I Be? STEM Careers from A to Z. So from the passion of doing it, I created a book from it. So engineer, speaker, STEM advocate, as well as author of a new children's book.
Okay. Well, I want to talk about your career just a little bit, because I really, really, really want to get into your speaking and your book, because your book is something that every time I'm on someone else's show, they ask me, what other careers out there are there in STEM? But before we get to that, what got you into mechanical engineering, or got you interested in engineering?
Right. So like I said, thought I could be a lawyer because I thought I could sort of argue a little bit, debate. But then I learned that math and science cause problem solving. So growing up, my mom was an educator, and then my dad was an entrepreneur, owned his own barbershop, beauty salon. So from that, I was engaged with knowing the importance of education and being able to do hard work. So we were active in different programs such as the Science and Math Academy. My brother as well is a civil engineer. So both of us were active as far as going into a Saturday academy where we would take a math and science academy where we would learn how to work with other students active. We was on campus at Winston State University where we would do the SAT prep, math and science. And so that's really what got us into knowing this is a great opportunity to be able to get engaged with engineering because math and science were important. So I didn't really know which type of engineer I wanted to be. I went and visited different campuses, chose different ones of schools I wanted to choose to do. And so I actually went in undecided engineering. I didn't know which one, but I was going in and went in undecided with engineering. And so when I got to be exposed to all the different type of engineers from that intro class, I was able to know that I felt mechanical was the most broadest of them all. And so that's the one I chose. And so from there, I was able to get engaged with all the different classes and stuff from there. But really, that's really what got me into it, is learning the different type of engineering and how it's problem solving. And I went into it because I wanted to be challenged. Not saying all the other majors and all that wasn't challenging, but I felt like it was allowed me to be able to be challenged, use your mind, think, and problem solve. So that's really what got me into deciding to be engineering. And then, like I said, I thought mechanical engineering was the broadest of them all.
Mm-hmm. You know, and I like what you just said about you went in undecided, because so many of our young men and women think when I get to college, I have to know what I want to be. That's all I'm supposed to be. I have to stick with it. But, the first year and a half of college is really taking that time to think of what you want to do and to try out the things that you want to do. And so, I like that you said that, because it help my listeners to think, well, I only want my child to be a doctor. Okay.
Right.
What kind of doctor? There's a lot of different types of doctors out there. So, it helps, that first year, some people go into that first year of college, I'm going to be something, and then end up graduating in a whole different field, because they
major. Yes.
A whole different major. They get there and they find that they like something else, or they're best suited for something else. Now, mechanical engineer, tell my young people, or my audience, because I've got all ages, what does a mechanical engineer do, or what is the definition of a mechanical engineer?
Right. And so when I try to explain it, when I go out to talk to the kids and try to break it down, and even have my mom try to explain what my brother and I do, I break it up into 3 different categories. And there's so many type of engineers. But mechanical is anything that moves is mechanical engineering. So dealing with the power, I deal with power, I deal with machinery, stuff like that. So that's anything that moves is mechanical engineering. Anything you cannot see, wires, computers, and all that, that's the electrical engineering. Anything from roads, transportation, structures, buildings, all of that is civil engineering. So if you break down those 3 different types of engineering, there's so many other types that can come from there. But that's how I started off trying to explain what the 3 different types are and why I chose mechanical, because anything that moves is mechanical. So I can see it. I'm a good visual. So that's really why mechanical is the way it is. And you design, build, so many different avenues when you talk about engineering with the different subjects.
Okay. Can you give us an idea of something that you have specifically done, built, or designed?
Right. So I'm in the energy industry. So I've dealt with being able to deal with the power industry. So that's when I did my internships in grad school, I did a variety of different ones. So I was able to tackle different types, from knowing what I wanted to do and what I did not want to do. So I actually, from a mechanical engineer, I started doing intern with Honda. So that's dealing with the cars. That's dealing with manufacturing. So I dealt with that perspective in interning. And then that last internship when I was in my graduate studies was energy. So I dealt with building and constructing new nuclear power plants. So I've dealt with equipment. When you're dealing with mechanical, you deal with designing, you deal with construction, you deal with drawings, calculations, specifications. So it's all that's tied in with the whole building of power itself. And so that's what I've dealt with as far as the industry I'm in. So it varies from the different industries, but that's just one example of what I've dealt with as far as being in the energy sector. So for mechanical. And I mean, we deal with pumps, pipes, valves. So those, like I said, are machinery, different types of equipment. So helping with that is what I've dealt with as far as in the industry itself.
That is so interesting, because, I'm listening to you. You are a young lady. You have worked in the automotive industry, and you worked in the nuclear power plant industry. And these are industries that a lot of young ladies probably don't think they could ever be in. I mean, I've been on the radiation side as part of me being in the military. But these are fields that a lot of young ladies would not have thought they could go into, because when you look at commercials, who is the primary person designing a car and looking at that car? It's usually a man. But, those avenues are open for everybody. You just have to figure out how to get involved.
And I knew what I was getting into when I was going into deciding the engineering. I knew it was a male-dominated field, but I wanted to break the mold. I felt like if I can do it, I mean, if they can do it, I can do it. I always like to be, I have a competitive side to myself. So I won't let anybody just tell me I cannot do it and not prove that I'm able to do it. So it just challenged me. Like I said, I like to be challenged. So it is a male-dominated field, but that's why I try to encourage more young ladies and more minorities to go into it, because there's a need there. And representation matters.
Oh, yes. Yes, it does. I mean, it totally and utterly does. And you know, get rid of some of those fears. I can't do this because,
Hmm.
only guys do this, or I can't do this because I didn't see this in my neighborhood. But
Hmm.
and I love the fact that your parents put you in different programs. And
Hmm.
I tell my people all the time, I've introduced them to a lot of the programs that are out there to
Hmm.
get their kids involved in STEM, or even athletics, even art, even music.
Right.
That's what they're
Right.
interested in.
And I was well rounded. I try to tell a lot of kids that I was academics was there, but also being well rounded also helps. I actually played the saxophone. You talk about the music side, the art side. I
Mhm.
actually played the saxophone, alto saxophone. So I played that, and then I was active in sports. I played basketball, and I ran track with hurdles.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
and kept my academics up. So I saw the importance of being well-rounded, being able to work in teams. Those are the type of things you're going to need to do when you get into these type of fields as well. Working in teams and working with others is important too. So yeah, being well-rounded. The musical side, yeah, I played the saxophone, played the marching band and everything. So, but it helped me be able to work in different environments with different people that are different than me. And that's what's important to also learn from it too.
That's awesome. Now, you spoke about your going out to schools and speaking to young
Hmm.
men. Um, Give me some insight about that. When you go out
Okay.
to schools, are you invited, or, well, I'm quite sure
Right.
you're invited, but how did you get
Right.
involved in it?
So I'm active in like a lot of different organizations, and specifically with engineering. There's the National Society of Black Engineers, which is called NSBE, and then there's SWE,
Yep, I
Society of
know
Women
them well.
Engineers.
Mm-hmm.
So with those type of organizations, I've been active in. Those have pushed us to be like, okay, we are active, positively impacting the community. So we are always asked to be able to come out to the schools and be able to talk to the school. And actually, there's NSBE Junior chapters. When you talk about programs that are out there, they're building NSBE Junior chapters where they get to do those robotics programs, where you get to do those
Ooh.
activities and work together at a younger age. So when we go out and do these different talks, we go and do these with the chapters, and we deal with talking to the kids. It's just doing presentations, doing hands-on activities. That's what's key to try to let them see. A lot of times I start out and I say, how many's met an engineer? And a lot of them don't raise their hands. But by the time we finish everything, we've done the hands-on activity, I ask that question again at the end. How many's met an engineer? And I said, there should be no excuse. You should be able to, everybody in here should be raising their hands. So that's the kind of, and what empowers me is when I go and talk to these kids, and a lot of times when I've seen them and they've grown up and they've gone through college and they've gone through a lot of leadership positions, and they come back and say, I remember when you came out and talked to me. I remember when you gave me that encouragement and being able to see that I could be that. That's what really makes my day, to be honest. And that's really what fuels me to say, okay, I am making an impact. And then even if it's with one child, I'm making an impact. So that's really what pushes me, because of the impact that I'm making, and planting a seed early is important.
That's awesome. Hello, listeners. This is Dr. Mary Payton with All About STEM Radio. I come to you every Monday from 7 to 8 p.m. here on Fishbowl Radio Network. I have an awesome, awesome, awesome guest today, Miss Tiffani Teachey. She is a senior mechanical engineer, an author, a speaker, a STEM advocate. She is a marvelous lady in STEM, and I am so excited and so proud to have her. Now, Tiffani, while you were out speaking
Hmm.
at one of the schools or one of the other programs, uh, tell me, have you ever been asked one of those profound questions by a kid or a parent or a teacher? A question you'll never forget.
Okay. Well, I know we'll get to the book, but one was doing these book readings. When I do go and talk to the kids, reading the book is very interesting. Just going out talking to kids, but it was around Christmas time when it came out right before Christmas. But what got me was when one kid, I read it. They was like, do these characters, do these engineers, do they ever get off of work? Do they always work all the time? I was like, oh no. So it's random questions, but it's making them think with the careers and everything too. So that was a random one that caught me off guard. But yeah, that was one that caught me off guard. I was like, they was like, do they get Christmas time off? So just learning, they want to know what we do, how our day-to-day things are, and trying to explain that to the kids. That's what's important. So that was a random one where I was like, oh, okay, yeah, they get the days off too as well, but they do work. So, but yeah, that was one that caught me off guard, just from a little kid standpoint, really young, and trying to figure out what engineers do and stuff too. So,
but that question does not surprise me, because
why you say that?
It doesn't surprise me because I've heard questions like that being asked about, with me being in the military, do you work all the time? Or when you look at TV and you see these doctor shows, it's like the doctors never go home. It's different movies that will have like engineers in them. Like it's a movie out called Volcano, a movie called Earthquake. It's like these people work all the time, and that's what those kids see. It's like they don't have another life. So I do understand that. So think of what they see on TV, and think of what they see with being an engineer. Even, you remember the original Jurassic Park, the very first movie, and they had those computer science people there. It's like they were there all the time.
Yes. Yes. So it's just showing them that we have a life too outside of just working as well, and showing them that we can be well-rounded as well with life, and showing that too. So yeah, that is definitely trying to show them that we can be a variety of things alongside with our careers is also those type of questions. I mean, I always get those type of questions of, well, what is your day-to-day life like? And you tell them, for me, it's different depending on if I'm out sometimes I have to dress out. So it's telling them what we might have to do, or sometimes I'm at the computer. It just depends on the day for me. And so trying to explain to them what a day-to-day life of work is, it varies, just depending on what industry you're in as well.
Yeah.
Yep.
What industry you're in, what day it is. Some people go out to the field, some people don't, some people travel.
Yes.
Some people have to do a lot of writing. So it depends. And that is what I love about your book. And I've only seen snippets of it, but I'm gonna have to get a copy of it, because let me tell you, this is a question that I get asked all the time. I did an interview with a lady, interviewed me from Vietnam last Sunday before last, and I don't know, I think I might have mentioned you coming on to the show, but she asked me, what are some of the STEM careers out there where people can travel? And, I've been in STEM, we won't even talk about how many years, far too many. But I've traveled all over the world with the military. But then on the other hand, I've taught in the Middle East. I've been a principal in South Korea, and I've had the opportunity to meet people outside of what you would consider an engineer or a doctor in other parts of the world that were from the United States. And because a lot of people go to other countries to teach English, they don't go to be computer scientists or work in oil refinery or work as a mechanical engineer or architectural engineer or structural engineer. But those positions are out there, but people don't know, unless you're in that field or in that arena, you don't necessarily understand it and know it. So that's why when we communicated, I was like, oh, I like this book already. So anyway, I'm sorry.
And I traveled with my job, and I tell that to some of them too. I was actually in California for a year and a half. Never would have thought I would go all the way to California from the East Coast. But learning to travel gives you perspective, and I enjoyed that experience. I even embraced it. I was skydiving, surfing, hiking. I was living it up over in California. So you get to see a different perspective, even with the lifestyle you might have to you deal with the work itself too. So I was out there near a power plant that way for a year and a half, and it was a great experience that I loved.
And you're so right. It's a lot of people think you get this job, you stay there, you don't ever go anywhere else. You stay there for 30 years and then you retire. Mm-hmm. But a lot of these fields you can travel in. Now, mm-hmm. I want to talk about the book. I'm transitioning to the book. Okay. So what's the name of your book? I'm going to let you tell because I'm looking at it.
Okay. The name of the book is What Can I Be? STEM Careers from A to Z. It's an alphabet book for ages 5 to 8-year-olds, K through 2. And it's just an opportunity for them to see themselves in it. It has a STEM crew, starts out with a STEM crew, 6 different races, different genders, and it starts out with a STEM crew that they get to see themselves in it. So it starts out with that, and then it works from A to Z, starting with astronauts to Z zoologists. And so it just walks them through all the different type of STEM careers throughout.
Okay. So how did you decide to write this book?
Right. So, like I said, I like to go and talk to the students, like to talk to the kids and tell them what they can be and see that they could be just like me. And so instead of just telling them it, why don't I put it in writing? I always wanted to write a book. I just didn't know what or when. I sort of knew I wanted to do something with STEM. I just didn't know what or when I was going to do it. But the opportunity came, popped up on Facebook. Actually, it was a challenge of learning how to do your best-selling book. And it was a 5-day challenge. Crystal Swan Bates, she's my book coach. That's what she guided us on there. And it was a good collaboration with other ones, aspiring authors. And from that, learned the process of publishing and was able to publish a book right before Christmas. I had a goal right before Christmas to generate the book. And so what got me into it is because I talk about it a lot to the kids, so why not put it in writing so then they can see it for themselves of the opportunities. And so that's why I wrote the book, just so they can get to see what they can be.
And that is so interesting, is because knowledge is power. If you don't know what's out there, you can't reach for it. Like they say, reach for the stars, you may land on the moon or something like that. Reach for the moon, you may land on the star. But think about it. What career fields are actually in STEM? And that's a question I get asked every time I'm on an interview with somebody. What is the very first career field that's in your book?
Okay. So I start with A, which is for astronaut. And I showed them how, and it says astronauts are trained to travel into outer space. And it's an African-American female that's showing there. And I actually took it from knowing one myself that was in Charlotte, Joan Higginbotham. She's the 3rd African-American female astronaut. And that was inspiring. And I said, let's start with the A, with the astronaut, and let it be shown there. And so that started with the A, with the astronaut. And that's what's shown at the beginning from that end. And then it goes into B, biologist, and then it just goes into all different types of. And I tried to be creative. I didn't want to make it be all engineering book. I wanted to make sure that they saw different type of careers that they might not have known were even there. Even from the doctor, you get to see a pediatrician, a veterinarian. So those are types of doctors that they get to be exposed to. Orthodontist instead of a dentist, because I couldn't use some of the same letters. People was like, why did you use this letter for this career? And I was like, no, I'm going to use this one. Now, I might do a spinoff because there is some more careers out there that might not be shown in here. So, but that's what I started out with A, which was astronaut. Yep.
And see, that's the thing. You mentioned something when you talked about doctor. You not only have a doctor in the hospital, you have veterinarians, you have psychologists, you have orthodontists, and a lot of kids say, well, I want to be a doctor. You have pediatricians. I want to be a doctor. What kind of doctor you want to be? just want to be a doctor.
Right. Right.
Oh,
Right.
and this
So
book
many
will
different
give
ones.
them that perspective.
Yes, and I've gotten good feedback because a lot of them, the parents they'll say, my child loves animals, and they never would have thought. Well, veterinarians in there, a zoologist is in there. They deal with it, so a lot of times they see that as an example that now they can put two and two together. Since you like animals, that's a great one to look at as far as a career to look at, STEM career. So.
Mhm. Mhm. And see
And one of the hardest letters I will say in here was the Y,
what?
the letter Y. That was a tough letter to come up with the STEM career, but I did come up with one. It's actually yacht designer. So you got
Oh,
to have somebody to be able to design the boats and the yachts. And so I put a yacht designer in there for that. So had
you
to be
are
creative.
so right. You are so right. Because you got all those letters in the alphabet. There is a career that's going to fall into that. Now,
Hmm.
um, you know, this book can also not, I mean, can not only be for kids, but you got a lot of people who are readjusting their career fields. They
Right.
may want to take a look at that too. But
I agree. Agree.
yep. Mhm.
And it's been interesting when the parents or adults or aunts and uncles, grandparents, when they've read it to the kids, it's pushed them to also say, I didn't consider this career myself. I didn't know anything. So a lot of times it pushes them to have to research it themselves and take it to the next level to understand what some of these careers are that are there for them too. But yeah, it's a great starting point. It's a great initial understanding of what the career is about. From the technology side, I have the information technologist to a web developer. So it is careers that's out there that are here where even from a study standpoint, some of these careers might not take as long to try to get to. And that's what we try to explain, that there's so many different types of careers that you might not have to take as much as far as the studies compared to other ones as well. So when you
And
talk about that, that's key.
yeah, and the other thing too is some kid may be looking at that and not understand what the spinoff on a particular career field is.
Mm-hmm.
So as we were talking about doctor,
Mm-hmm.
once you become a doctor, you can then decide if you want to be internal medicine or a
Yes.
pediatrician or ear, nose, and
Mm-hmm.
throat person.
Mm-hmm.
All of those have to go have the same foundation, and then they spin off to something else. Just like with you being an engineer, you
Mm-hmm.
started out just as the general practice, and then you went into mechanical engineering. You just spoke
Right.
on electrical engineering. You know, there are a lot of spin-offs with those. That's why when you said, I was getting ready to ask you, are you going to do another book? You said this book is
Yeah.
going to have to be a spin-off because you didn't get everything in
Agree.
there.
Agree. But then when I talk about spinoffs, I'm already in the works for trying to create a teacher's guide. As we're dealing with
Uh-huh.
homeschooling right now, this is more than ever a way to try to tie in these careers and tie in how math and science, social studies, English and language is how that's playing a role. So I've got that in the works from a teacher's guide. I've got a coloring book. There's also with activities. So it's a spinoff. That so many ways that this book could go. That
Yeah.
is in the works right now. That's coming out next.
And I like that because with my books, because they primarily promote um, the travel aspect and looking in the Texas book has quite a few STEM careers in there, like chiroptologist who is a bat scientist and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Um, that kids wouldn't have even thought about. So people have
Mhm.
been on me right. When you write the next Texas book, because you only went up one major highway in Texas,
Right.
because the Texas book could have been huge. But
Right.
you're so right, because there
And a
are
lot of
so many careers
go
out
ahead.
there. And I was gonna
Yes,
say
it's
there's
a
so
lot
many
out there.
careers out there.
Yep.
But when you look at your book, what are some of the most questioned career fields out of that book
Mm-hmm.
from people who have who've read it or
Right.
people you've talked to about it?
Right. Like I said, that veterinarian one is a popular one, but robotics engineer. So I have a kid in here that's showing in here with the robots and how they're designing and building robots that can do various tasks. And so
Mhm.
spinoff is there's so many robotics programs. First Lego League, there's so many different type of robotics programs so they can do different activities that can spin off from it. So the robotics one is that robotics engineer. That's a popular one that I've seen. A lot of times the doctor one is a popular one too. But
Mhm.
a lot of them, they get to see themselves in it in some manner. But yeah, that robotics one seems to be a big hit when they see it. I guess maybe because they see the toy robot in it and everything too. As far as the doctor one, like I said, they have the pediatrician. So a lot of times they see that working with kids and seeing themselves working with kids as well is a key one too. So those are some key ones that have stood out. And when I talk to them, I have a mechanical engineer in here. And so I tell them, because it's a mini me in it, but I changed some of the names in it. But I tell them and point out, this is me. This is me. So the M in there, mechanical engineer, and the drawing in there is me. So I try to tell them that when I explain it to them, that that's me representing in there, and that they can be it too as well. So, but yeah, robotics, the doctor, the pediatrician, those are some key ones. Now let me tell you, the X-ray technician that I have in there, right off
Yeah.
the kids can say X-ray. It's like they know that X-ray when they see it. So when I'm going through it, they catch an eye when they see the X-ray, like they already know what that is. So that one is a popular one where they already know the words when I get ready to say it to them. Is what I've seen when reading it.
And that's I like that because that's one that they can kind of relate to a little bit because everybody knows
Mhm.
what an X-ray is.
Mhm.
They may
Mhm.
not know exactly how it works, but they've
Right.
at least heard the word. So they can ask
Right.
about that because, oh, I know what that is, so I can ask a question about that.
Mhm.
So,
Yep.
but I mean, just think about it. Now, what did you put in there for K?
Okay. Kinesthesiologist. And that was my hardest word to say to them.
Why?
And when I say right, so this is challenging them, but I had to come up with a letter. But basically, it's one who's researching and they analyze to try to help the human body move. So they help those that need to get their body movement and improve their wellness. So that's the
Yes.
kind of description that's in there. And it's a lady. It's this one. She's working with them. A lady trying to help her with her walking and
Mhm.
physical therapy. That's the kind of stuff where it's needed. And so you see it from that perspective. Yeah, kinesiologist. So that's one of those where it's a tough one for them to say, but I try to, when I'm reading it through the book reading, I say the letter and then I say the description and I'm like, repeat after me. This is and repeat the description so then they can say or repeat the title of the career itself. So then they can learn the word itself too and then go into the description. So that's how I've tried to tackle some of the harder ones to say. But yeah, that's the career for that one.
And I like the fact that you said deals with the movement and how the body moves because when I was younger, my degree is in back then in the 70s. They didn't have kinesiology. They had
Mhm.
physical education.
Right.
But I was physical education, but I was um, I've primarily focused on movement because my other degree field was biology. Now would be
Mhm.
biology and kinesiology. So everything I
Mhm.
did was dealing with the body. And
Right.
when I try to explain, people ask me, "Why did you go into those fields?" Because being PE, you just be a coach. No, it's not that you're just a coach. You deal with the body. So I tell people kinesiology now because now they understand.
Gotcha.
Because it is so, you know, I have, I've had knee problems,
Mhm.
joint problems from all the years of being in the military. How do you fix those? I've had to have things repaired. I've broken things.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, and these are people that deal with that. Now, I
Right.
know I'm not going to hit all the alphabet, but I'm going to hit
Right.
some of the harder ones. Q. What did you have for Q?
Quality engineer. So basically, they make sure that items are good quality. So they would check it off. They check it off, make sure that everything's good. So quality engineer. And so
Quality
it's a lady.
control.
Yep, quality control. So she's got a hard hat on, and she's got her notepad with the checks on it, and so that's how it's showing in the with the machine right beside it. So
Okay. Bye. Someone came to my front door to bring me a mask. Miss Liz. Oh, and she brought me a really pretty one. I'm sorry. I had to walk to my front door. I'm here, and people are trying to take care of me. But, so quality control engineer, I'm sorry.
yeah, quality engineer.
What would that person do? You probably said it, and I was answering my front door.
Oh, you're fine. Quality engineers make sure items are of good quality. So it's showing a lady that's in there holding up a notepad or a pad checklist, the items. So they basically make sure that before it goes off to production, that you got to make sure that that equipment is to par and it's working and in good condition. So the quality engineers are those ones that go and make sure that everything's up to par and it is right, and they check it off. So that's what it's showing for right now as far as the quality engineer in there.
And think about that. That has to be in virtually every feel of somebody building something. Because let's say you don't have quality control in the auto manufacturing company. Your brakes could fail, your lights could go off in the middle of the night, all kind of things could happen because they weren't checked. And I remember, and I don't remember if they still do this. You would open up, let's say, a toy, and it would have that little piece of paper that said, this item was checked by this particular, inspect number. And those were the people to check to make sure those items were working properly, or everything was in there, or going back to design. Somebody has to check everything. I like the fact that you have brought this up 3 times, that working in teams, working in groups.
Yes.
That's something that you mention in your books.
Yes, and they get to see that. They don't sometimes see individuals in each of them. So they start out with the STEM crew, so it lets them say, this group is going to work together. So throughout it, they see groups of them. Like even for the doctors, I have like 4 of them standing together. Even for the nurses, I see 3 of them standing together. And so they get to see teams of different races and genders all working together throughout this. So they get to see what it's like as far as working out in the real world. You got to work together regardless of whoever you put with. You got to be able to work together and work as a team to get the job done. And so that's what's kind of shown throughout here when they go through the different careers. It's not just individuals, but it's also ones working together as a team.
Now, how was the process of writing this book for you? Did you self-publish?
I did self-publish. So like I said, I had went on a challenge. There was a challenge of one author who's a book coach, and she showed us the process. So basically, self-published made me be able to pick my own book team. I got to pick who I wanted my illustrator to be. I got to pick who I wanted to do the cover design. I wanted to pick who's doing the formatting, the editing. So I was able to pick those, and I worked with the illustrator and went through freelancing to try to see who could do with the budget I had to be able to produce it. And me and the illustrator, we worked back and forth. She got to get a good idea of where I wanted. And I made sure, I kept to my vision and said, no, this is how we want this one to look. This is how we want this to look. And so we worked together to make sure that I kept it the way I wanted as far as the vision for the different type of characters I wanted in it. And it just came together. And I'm just amazed at how it came. So yes, I did self-publishing, and it was just a great opportunity. It was timelines of trying to work with the different individuals, like you say, working as a team, staying in my lane of knowing I can't do drawings, so I definitely needed to get somebody who could do that. And then the whole process of formatting it and putting it together, I got someone to do that. So it was an interesting experience of learning the process But to see the end result of uploading it on Amazon, the Barnes and Nobles, and being able to do that, it was just like amazing. And to get that first book and put together, it's like, wow, it all came together. It's a great feeling. Great feeling.
Mm.
The one thing I will say, lessons
What?
learned, is the marketing piece.
Yes.
Marketing. So yes, I was like, yes, I'm going to have this out before Christmas. That was my goal. But I didn't plan the marketing piece. I dropped it, and then everybody's like, oh, so how do we get it? Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, whoa, I wasn't ready. So that's my lessons learned of the process, is make sure you promote beforehand. Make sure you marketing it beforehand, and that helps as well with getting your book out there. But I did have the website. I had, the different social medias and everything together. It's just the process of promoting that piece up front is also important too, is what I learned in the process.
And the marketing is ongoing because I have two books, and I'm working on my third/fourth. Marketing is ongoing because this is what we as authors have to understand. The first, that first group of people who buy your book, your friends and your cousins and your aunties and all of them, that first 100 people that buy your book, okay, they're not going to need a second book. So you need to market to another group of people. And you sound like you're doing it because you're going to schools, you're looking at how to add this to curriculum, and so on and so forth. So that's a huge thing. And, being out there, and with me, I had the ability to work with a small elementary school in my community, and got out a little bit more, and going to events and being part of organizations like you are with you're in NIMSY, right? No, not NIMSY. Yeah, NESB. You're with them, being in your sorority or fraternity.
Delta. Sigma Theta.
Are you a Delta? Don't tell me you're a Delta.
I am a Delta. Yes.
But I know I'm going to get off track, but that's okay. In my family, it doesn't matter if you're a Delta, AKA, or Zeta, because we have them all in my family. And don't come in there trying to badmouth somebody, because we are very, very good cooks in my family. You might miss a meal because you got put out of the house because you said something about one of our family Greek, which we have members in all of them. So we don't. But you once that first group of people buy it, what is going to be your next market? You're constantly, and there's one thing I have heard. I haven't had to do anything with mine yet. Is people have put together books that were specific, and life has changed. Like back when I grew up, there were no computers, there were no cell phones, but now there are. So a book that was written on STEM back in the 1980s is not relevant now.
Right.
So you're going to, in your case, and I love the fact that you've already said it, there's so many career fields out there. You're already looking into the second book.
Oh yes, definitely. Like I said, it's the sky's the limit on opportunities and trying to expose, and that's key. We got to keep exposing them to it. And if there's more out there, why not put it out there for them to learn? And that's what I'm looking at. Yeah.
So now I'm changing again because we've got probably a good 8 minutes left. 8 minutes left. You say that you're an advocate for STEM, or a STEM advocate. What does that mean? My audience can understand that.
STEM advocate means that you are all about making sure you are exposing, giving them the opportunity, and that they're provided with access to it. And I think those are the key things when you're talking about STEM, and just putting it out there that there's opportunities out here that these kids, you can see the possibilities, that they just need to be exposed to it. A lot of times you see those kids, some of them might be playing with those different toys and they're building things, and you don't realize, but that's the opportunity to engage them early. Starting early is important. So when I talk about STEM advocacy, it's just knowing that there's so many opportunities and you can start early and just getting them exposed to it. So I'm all about making sure that there's exposure, opportunity, access, and then knowledge, building that knowledge when you talk about STEM advocacy. So just getting it out there and knowing that the opportunity and the sky's the limit, and just shaping their future early, shaping the next generation is how I look at it from the STEM advocacy standpoint.
And that's so true. And your book is one of the things that's really bringing it full circle. Is a lot of the kids don't know. A lot of our parents and our teachers, to include myself, don't know about certain things, because, you know, I meet people all the time. Never realized that, and I cannot pronounce the word, so I always call her a turtle scientist. You know, there are people that study specific things. You know, bat scientists, turtle scientists. You think, oh, okay, environmentalist or environmental scientist or environmental engineer is broken down into more than just this great big umbrella. And our kids need to know that. Our parents need to know that, because, like I said, parents will say, oh, I want my child to be a doctor. Well, what kind of doctor? There are a lot of doctors out there. I want my child to be an engineer. Okay, what type of engineer? You know, what are you doing with your child to get them in that field?
Right, and exposing them, giving them the opportunity to learn, and the hands-on activities are really key. If they can get activities where it stimulate the minds, like I just did recently. When we talk about hands-on, there's key things. I had did recently how I tied in one of the civil engineering type ones. I had tied in I do a lot of the towers, so things you can do at home. There's some home activities that they can use just from like marshmallows and a spaghetti stick or a toothpick. They could put that and start building a tower from it. So tying in civil engineering, which deals with structures and stuff like that. A lot of these different type of careers, they can do different hands-on activities they can tie in with it. And that's what is a good way for them to get to see and expose and tie in the different types of skills that's needed for the type of STEM careers that it can be.
I mean, and that's a big thing, is you can expose them at home. We grew all kind of things at home. We grew all kind of fruits and vegetables and canned them. And that's how I learned about pressure and temperature, photosynthesis, and, you know, different things, was because we were exposed to that kind of stuff at home. But you're right. And now with this whole homeschooling situation, woo, Lord have mercy, some of these parents have probably lost their minds. Because I even noticed today I had to pull back on some of my teaching stuff, because I'm like, oh, I can do this in class, but oops, wait a minute, parents may not be able to do this at home.
Right.
But we've got 2 minutes left. What would you want to tell my audience about, or anyone you want to thank or anything like that before we go off?
Okay. Well, definitely thank you so much for the opportunity. I appreciate it. Thanks for those that are listening. And just know, for those that do know me, they know that I'm all about STEM. I'm all about pushing it and with our youth, and the mentoring, the importance of mentoring as well, and having a sponsor. I meant to put that out there. Those are important too, for our youth. And so definitely those that, thank you for the support. Like I said, I wrote a book, What Can I Be? STEM Careers from A to Z, which is a great opportunity to start young. It's before third grade, from K through 2, 5 to 8 year olds. And you can definitely find it on TiffaniTeachey.com. And then it's #1 bestseller on Amazon for STEM education. So it's proof that it's helping those that try to learn about STEM. And it's also on Barnes & Noble. But definitely check it out. It's a great opportunity to start and engage the kids early. And why not with this book? It's a great opportunity. Sky's the limit, and we're shaping the future generation through STEM.
Yes. And Tiffani, I love this book. It can be used in a variety of academics. You've got STEM, you've got career, you've got AVID. I can even see this book going up in the middle school where kids are trying to decide what they want to do or have some idea. But hey, I am so happy to have had you on the show today. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Miss Tiffani Teachey. She is a senior mechanical engineer, STEM advocate, speaker, and author of What Can I Be STEM from A to Z, which is an excellent book that you can pick up on Amazon, Barnes & Noble. Oh, Tiffani, also check Walmart.
Because that's on the to-do list. Yes, thank you. Yeah, definitely.
My books are on Barnes & Noble, Walmart, and Amazon. And I was shocked.
Okay.
Because Walmart doesn't tell you anything. It just shows up on there, and I love it. So,
nice.
But, hey, I want you to stay safe. And I am so glad to welcome you into my STEM community, because that's what all about STEM radio is our STEM community. I want you to keep this up. Keep going with this, because there is no way that, you are very, very necessary, because there's so many fields out there. Keep doing your research. But ladies and gentlemen, I am going to get off here, and thank you, Tiffani, for joining us. And you will come back, right?
Yes, I'm here. I enjoy the conversation. I enjoy promoting, and just the conversation is important with STEM. So thank you for the opportunity. Thank you.
All right. Well, you take care, and audience, I will see y'all. Well, you'll hear from me next week. Well, we'll have Mr. Ozzie Palmer. He is the founder of the Reed Foundation. You can find him at leadtoachieve.org. Great organization. Oh, Tiffani, forgot to ask, what is your website? I'm giving somebody else's, and we haven't talked about yours.
Oh, TiffaniTeachey.com, TiffaniTeachey.com, and you'll be able to get the books right off of there to the link.
Okay. You know what?
And it is available, and I'm also available on social media with Tiffani Teachey for Instagram and Twitter, and then Tiffani Teachey Author for Facebook. Thank you.
Okay.